second line of your defense, the linebackers, the men, often they become the celebrated stars of the defense. But as the glory comes their way, so do the responsibilities. By that I mean that of all the defensive men, the linebackers have the most difficult assignments. They are a focal point of the defense against the run and an integral part of the defense against the pass. Remember, the basic difference between defensive linemen and linebackers is that on a snap of the ball, the lineman acts and then diagnoses. The linebacker diagnoses and then acts. The linebacker never guesses, but rather waits for his key. It is far better for him to be a little bit hesitant than it is to do the wrong thing. This requires knowledge, confidence, self-control, and as is true of every position, every phase of football, the linebacker's ability begins once again with a fundamental, and that is that familiar football position. Now here's that football position. The two-point stance from which the linebacker first reads and then reacts. Now the three linebackers are positioned as we have them here, with the strong side linebacker in a two-point stance in the football position facing the Y or the tight end and concentrating on them. The weak side linebacker in what we refer to as a hip position. I mean by that he's 1 yard deep and 1 yard outside the defensive end. And the middle linebacker directly over the ball, facing the quarterback, 2.5 yards to 4 yards off that ball. This is the familiar 4-3 defense. The odd defenses, what we mean by that, is that one of the defensive linemen, for example, if the lineman shifted the strength of the formation to the wingback, this defensive tackle would take a position over the center. These two defensive linemen would move out into the gaps, and the middle linebacker would compensate for that shift by taking a weak position, probably over the guard or almost over the guard. That's what we call a 4-3 over to the strength. Now, a 4-3 under, which is also an odd defense, this tackle would shift to the head of the center, forcing these two men to move out into the gaps, and the middle linebacker would compensate for that shift or that movement of the defensive lineman by assuming a position to the strength of the formation or to the flanker over the guard. And now, let's go to another board and discuss how the linebackers work in coordination with the defensive linemen. There's a coordination between the defensive tackles and the middle linebacker in this triangle, in this area. For example, on an inside charge by the defensive tackles, the middle linebacker has outside responsibility, usually in a holes outside the defensive tackles. And if the flow of the backfield is that way, his first move would be to cover here. If the flow of the backfield were this way, he'd cover here. If it's an outside charge by the defensive tackles, his first responsibility is the inside hole. And again, he would have a secondary key in this case. If the center setter's on pass, he would move out of there, immediately go to his pass coverage. If the center were to block down, he would fill that hole immediately. If the center were to drive on him, he would meet that charge. Here you see in a game, when the defensive tackles have inside responsibility, how the middle linebacker with outside responsibility fills the area to his right. Here, as the tackles make the inside charge, the middle linebacker fills the hole to his left, as the rest of the defense closes in to stop the ball carrier. Just as there is a coordination on the inside between the tackles and the middle linebacker, there is a coordination on the outside with the defensive end and the linebacker as far as responsibility is concerned. For example, with the end having outside responsibility, the first responsibility of the linebacker is to the hole to his inside. With the end having inside responsibility, the first responsibility of the linebacker is outside on running plays. If it were a pass and the end had the outside rush, the first move of the linebacker would be to the inside, and as soon as he recognizes pass, he must come to his pass coverage. If, for example, the end had inside responsibility on a pass rush, he would continue to the inside. This means that this man would be the contain man on a quarterback who would roll out, because his responsibility would be on the outside. Whoever has the outside responsibility is the contain man. Here's a key play that preserved a National Football League championship. Because the defensive left end had inside responsibility, the left linebacker had outside responsibility and became the contain man. As he had been trained, he read before reacting. And when he found the blocker had the outside angle, he went inside that man to the quarterback, forcing the poor throw that led to the interception. In addition to their responsibilities in the normal or basic defenses, the linebackers become the spearheads of the defense in what I believe is one of the most dramatic maneuvers in football, the blitz. And the blitz can be effective against both the run and the pass, and properly called and executed may change the whole course of the game, destroying the offense's preconceived plans and with them its morale. By hurrying the throw or dropping the passer, or the runner for a loss. In discussing this blitz, for example, on an inside blitz by the linebacker, the weak side end, or the man he's working with, is now the contain man and the pass rusher from the outside. The key for the two remaining linebackers, that is the middle linebacker and the strong side linebacker, is the fullback, or the five man as we have them shown here. If the fullback blocks to either side, both these remaining linebackers go to respective hook zones. The middle linebacker to a weak zone, to the weak hook zone, looking for delays. The strong side linebacker to the strong side hook zone. To help underneath for the safety man, also looking for delays from the fullback. If the fullback flares to the strong side linebacker is on him man-to-man and covers him. The weak side, or the middle linebacker, now moves to the strong side hook zone. If the fullback flares weak, the strong side linebacker moves to the hook zone. The middle linebacker covers that fullback man-to-man. Here is an illustration of the weak side linebacker working with the weak side end. As the end and linebacker charge at the same time, the end makes one step to the outside but takes the inside route. The linebacker has the outside responsibility, which gets him to the quarterback. In the strong side blitz, or the blitz by the strong side linebacker, he usually works in coordination with the defensive end on his side. And his blitz can come from the outside or it can come inside that defensive end. Where he blitzes from usually depends upon the split of the Y-end or the tight end. If the Y-end is split out, he'll probably blitz from the outside. If the Y-end is in tight, he probably will blitz inside the defensive end, like this, into that area. Of course, the purpose is to draw the block draw the block of the offensive tackle on the end and then release this man inside. And with the fullback looking for the blitz from the outside or looking from the linebacker inside, sometimes he can get inside that protection. He can also blitz from the outside, as I mentioned, and he also can blitz inside both men. That's another phase of the blitz. And all of those, as I mentioned, the deep secondary is man-to-man on the offensive ends and the four-man. The key here, of course, again, for the two remaining linebackers, the middle linebacker and the weak side linebacker, is the fullback. If the fullback blocks either side, the middle linebacker goes to the strong side hook zone, looking for delays and helping on the underneath pattern for the strong side safety, and the weak side linebacker comes to the weak side zone looking for delays into his area. If the fullback flares strong, the middle linebacker has a man-to-man. Weak side linebacker into his hook zone. If the fullback flares weak, the weak side linebacker has a man-to-man. The middle linebacker to the hook zone on the strong side. Now, this is what we mean by contain. As a defensive end and strong side linebacker charge, it is the linebacker's responsibility as the contain man to keep the rollout quarterback inside the defensive perimeter. In the middle blitz, the blitz is usually in coordination with one of the defensive tackles. For example, he could blitz to the strong side with this tackle, or he could blitz to the weak side with the weak side tackle into those areas, or he could blitz right up the middle with both tackles taking the outside. In that, the two remaining linebackers, which is the strong and the weak, now still key the fullback as they do in all the other blitzes. On a block, both go to a hook zone. On a fan, man-to-man to the side he comes on, hook zone. If he goes to the weak side, man-to-man, hook zone. On the practice field now, observe how the middle linebacker takes the outside blitz route, and the right tackle takes the inside.
Right on the line, I'll drive him. All right. Get on. That's it, Luke. On the line of scrimmage. That's what I want.
Now, in a game, the middle linebacker waits and analyzes. With the left defensive tackle taking the inside, the middle linebacker has an open route to the quarterback. Now, if we have a combination of more than one man blitzing, for example, any combination of two linebackers or all three linebackers. For example, let's discuss for a moment the weak side linebacker and the middle linebacker blitzing at one and the same time. Middle linebacker still blitzes in coordination with the defensive tackle to either the right or to the left. This blitz can be the inside or it can be outside. Either way, when they do, if this man is blitzing and this man is blitzing, the fullback, if he were to come weak now, would be uncovered unless the end covers him. So usually, when these two men are blitzing, this man must blitz to the outside, and this man, as he comes out, if the fullback were to come weak, he'd have to be covered by the defensive end. If the strong side linebacker and the middle linebacker are blitzing, the same thing holds true. This end would have to be on the outside. If the fullback came strong and this man was in the blitz with the middle linebacker, the end would have to cover the fullback if he came out in a fan. The same thing holds true with a three-man blitz. Blitz, blitz, blitz. Now the fullback goes strong, he's covered by the strong side end. The fullback goes weak, he's covered by the weak side end. In a game, the middle linebacker and the left linebacker blitz with the defensive left end becoming a contain man. The blitz is often as effective against the run as against the pass. And now here's another responsibility of the outside linebacker who plays over the tight or the YN. On a running game, he must keep the offensive YN or the tight end from blocking down on the tackle. And in doing so, when this man goes to the inside, he's got to push him off the block and then be in position to close the off-tackle play. On a pass, he's got to chuck him and to keep him off rhythm. That's all we ask him to do. In other words, if this man were to release quickly and do everything on rhythm, the passing game would be a simple operation. We ask him to chuck him to keep him off rhythm. He has two different chucks. One when a man goes to the inside and one when a man goes to the outside. To the inside, go ahead. He drives him down. That's the way. And throw him off rhythm. And then goes back into his pass coverage. On the release to the outside, go ahead. He drives him down. That's the way. And throw him off with him. And then goes back into his pass coverage. On the release to the outside, The release to the outside.